The cafeteria of Proxima Academy hummed with the usual lunchtime chatter, a symphony of clicks, whistles, and synthesized voices from 24 species across the galactic arm. Elsa sat alone at the far corner table, her human fingers wrapped around a nutrition packet that her classmates found disgustingly primitive. "Look, the Deathworlder's eating again," chirped Vexthar, his crystalline form refracting the overhead lights into sharp geometric patterns. "Doesn't she know that organic consumption is barbaric?" The Calaxan twins, gelatinous beings from a low-gravity moon, rippled with laughter. One of them oozed forward, depositing a trail of slime across Elsa's table. Maybe, if she evolved on a civilized world, she wouldn't need to destroy living matter for sustenance. Elsa's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She'd learned that silence was safer. Every response, every defense, only painted a larger target on her back. The scholarship human, the only one in an academy designed for species that had never known violence, predation, or death. Adam watched from 3 tables away, his own lunch forgotten. He'd seen this pattern for weeks now, ever since Elsa had arrived from Earth. The other students treated her like a dangerous curiosity, something to be mocked from a safe distance. They didn't understand. None of them understood. He understood, though. Adam was human too, but he'd been born on Sanctuary Station, raised in the sterile safety of space. He'd never set foot on Earth, never felt real gravity, real weather, real danger. "Your kind murdered an entire ecosystem to power your civilization," Vexthar continued, emboldened by the crowd gathering around Elsa's table. "Tell me, savage, how many species went extinct so you could have your precious technology?" Elsa's knuckles went white around the nutrition packet. Adam saw her chest rise and fall with carefully controlled breaths, a technique he recognized from the mandatory anger management classes all humans had to take. The galaxy feared human aggression almost as much as they were fascinated by it. "Back off, Vex," Adam called out, his voice shakier than he'd hoped. The crystalline being swiveled his prismatic head. "Ah, the station-born human. Tell me, Adam, do you also fantasize about conquest and domination? Is it genetic, or did they manage to civilize it out of you?" Adam's face flushed, but before he could respond, the cafeteria's alert system blared. Red emergency lights strobed across the walls as the station's AI spoke in calm, measured tones. "Hull breach detected. Sector 7. Atmospheric containment failing. All students proceed to emergency shelters." Chaos erupted immediately. The Calaxan twins liquefied in panic, flowing toward the exits in undulating waves. Vexthar's crystalline structure began to crack as his fear response triggered internal fractures. Species from dozens of peaceful worlds scrambled over each other, their evolution having never prepared them for existential threats. Proxima Academy orbited a dead star, a relic of a civilization that had died out millennia ago. The station itself was ancient, held together by technology no one fully understood anymore. Hull breaches were rare but catastrophic. "Everyone remain calm," the proctor, a floating Erythian with translucent wings, tried to establish order, but his species had evolved in a paradise of eternal spring. His voice carried no authority in crisis. Adam felt his legs lock. His muscles refused commands. Station-born humans trained for emergencies, yes, but training and reality were different beasts. The alarms, the screaming, the genuine possibility of death, it overwhelmed his civilized upbringing. Elsa stood. It wasn't a hurried movement, not panicked or desperate. She rose from her seat with fluid precision, her eyes scanning the room with a clarity that seemed impossible given the pandemonium. Adam watched as something shifted in her posture, something primal and ancient, something the galaxy had spent centuries trying to breed out of humanity. "Sector 7 is the eastern wing," Elsa said, her voice cutting through the noise. Not loud, but somehow undeniable. The nearest shelter is through the north corridor, but that's 1,600 meters. Too far. The breach will decompress half the station before we make it. We're going to die, shrieked one of the Calixan twins, now a puddle of terrified gelatin. No, Elsa said flatly, we're not. She moved toward the emergency equipment locker, her steps purposeful. Adam noticed something he'd never seen before. The way she moved wasn't like other humans he knew. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation. Each step was calculated, efficient, predatory. The locker required an administrative override. Elsa's fist punched through the translucent panel, shattering it. Several students gasped at the casual violence. She pulled out emergency atmosphere suits, primitive things, rarely used because modern species had evolved beyond needing such crude protection. Earth gravity is 3 times standard, Elsa said, throwing suits to nearby students. That means I can carry 3 times what you consider normal. Vexthar, your species can survive in near vacuum for 40 minutes. The Calixan twins can seal themselves in their protective membranes. The rest of you suits. Now. Who put you in charge, Deathworlder? Vexthar demanded, though his voice cracked with fear. Elsa's eyes locked onto his prismatic form. I grew up where the atmosphere tries to kill you, where the local fauna sees you as food, where a simple fall can shatter bones and a common cold can end civilizations. You want to argue about authority, or do you want to live? The crystalline being went silent. Adam watched in awe as Elsa organized the evacuation with military precision. She prioritized the weakest species, calculated optimal routes, and made decisions in seconds that would have taken the Erythian proctor minutes of deliberation. She hoisted 3 students at once, species that weighed nearly 200 kilograms combined, and carried them toward the nearest emergency seal. Adam, she barked, you're station-born, you know the maintenance corridors, which one connects to the central hub. His mind snapped into focus. Corridor J7, but it's not rated for student use. Perfect, it won't have panic traffic, lead the way. The next 18 minutes were a blur. Adam guided groups through maintenance passages he'd only seen in schematics. Elsa moved with impossible efficiency, returning again and again to pull slower students along, her earth-forged muscles barely straining under loads that would have crushed any other species in the academy. When the Erythian proctor became paralyzed with fear, unable to make a decision, Elsa simply moved him aside. When a structural beam collapsed, blocking their path, she didn't call for help. She braced herself against a wall and pushed with her legs, her Deathworld skeleton and musculature forcing the metal aside. Vexthar watched her with something approaching religious awe. How are you doing this? Elsa didn't even look winded. On Earth, I ran 5 kilometers every morning before school, in gravity that would crush your crystalline structure into powder. This, she gestured at the chaos around them, this is easy. They reached the central hub with 90 seconds to spare before Sector 7's complete decompression. Emergency bulkheads sealed behind them with a definitive clang. The station's AI confirmed. All students accounted for, 0 casualties. The cafeteria fell silent except for heavy breathing and the soft whir of life support systems stabilizing. Elsa stood in the center of the group, her school uniform torn and stained, her hands bloody from punching through equipment panels and moving debris. She looked exactly like what she was, a product of Earth, a being forged in a crucible of constant danger, evolution's answer to a planet that tried to kill its inhabitants every single day. Vexthar approached slowly, his prismatic form no longer refracting light with aggressive angles. I apologize. I didn't understand. No, Elsa said quietly, you didn't. Adam moved to stand beside her, his own hands shaking with delayed adrenaline. You saved everyone. She shrugged, a very human gesture. Where I come from, you help your tribe survive. Doesn't matter if I like you. Doesn't matter if you like me. We're all humans in the end. "We're not human," Vexthar said softly. Elsa met his eyes, or what passed for eyes in his species. "Today you were." The bullying stopped after that. The other students didn't suddenly become friends with Elsa, but they no longer mocked her. They watched her with a new understanding, a recognition that the very traits they'd found barbaric, the aggression, the physical strength, the reflexive response to danger, were the same traits that had kept them all breathing. Adam sat with Elsa in the repaired cafeteria 2 weeks later. "Do you miss it, Earth?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her nutrition packet. "Every single day. But maybe," she glanced around at the diverse species, at beings from worlds where rain was always warm and predators didn't exist. "Maybe they need to see what survival really means. Maybe that's why we're here. To protect them. To remind them," Elsa corrected. "That safety isn't natural. That peace is a luxury. And that somewhere out there, on a blue planet orbiting an average star, evolution built something that refuses to quit." Adam smiled. "A Deathworlder." "Yeah," Elsa said, returning the smile. "A Deathworlder.